Hi, my name is Ruben Barba, and today we're going to be discussing Sleepy Hollow, the legend, history, and cultural impact of Mr. Washington Irving's classic tale. To give you a brief overview of Sleepy Hollow, this tale, the legend of Sleepy Hollow, highlights superstitious ideals with a fascination for ghost stories and the supernatural element. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was written by Washington Irving in the late 1820s. This was a big part of his collection, The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Canyon Ghent. The story is set in a small secluded village of Sleepy Hollow along the western shore of Zappan Zee River in New York. This story was published back in 1820. It was set in the early post-Revolutionary War period in the United States. This era was a time of great change as the new nation sought to establish its identity, and many people still lived in rural areas, isolated communities, such as the setting for this story. These areas, like the fictional Sleepy Hollow, were often steeped in folklore and superstition, influenced by remnants of European customs and beliefs brought over by the settlers. The story's ghostly figure, the Headless Horseman, is believed to be a spirit of a Haitian soldier from the Revolutionary War, reflecting the lingering memories of the war and conflict that shaped early American culture. The main characters for this story will start off with Ichabod Crane. He's a teacher, he's kind of skinny, awkward, very superstitious despite being educated. He was easily swayed by ghost stories, superstitious of the Sleepy Hollow legend. He's also very fond of Katrina Van Tassel. Brom Bones is the other character in this story. He's more of a confident, strong young man. He's also infatuated with Katrina Van Tassel. So this guy seems to be Ichabod Crane's arch rival. Which brings me to Katrina Van Tassel. Katrina Van Tassel is the beautiful maiden in this story. She comes from a wealthy background. I believe her parents are wealthy farmers. Um, Even though she knows where she's coming from, she also understands that Ichabod Crane has other motives as to why she attracts him. He wants to marry her in hopes of getting her father's wealth as well. Now, all these characters together drive the central conflict of the story. They highlight the themes and ambitions, fears, and superstition, with each character playing a distinct role in the narrative. When it comes to the themes, I think supernatural versus reality comes to mind. The central theme of the legend of the Sleepy Hollow is the tension between superstition and reason. Although Ichabod Crane, despite being educated, he's highly susceptible to superstitious beliefs, and particularly those involving ghosts and the supernatural. Now, he does have a fascination with ghost stories. It kind of makes him an easy target for fear and paranoia, especially when he's confronted by the Headless Horseman. Now, Brom Bones, on the other hand, he represents rationality and skepticism. I think throughout the story, he's playing pranks on Ichabod Crane to kind of exploit on his fears and supernatural. I think that's what makes this kind of a great story. We don't know if it's truly the headless horseman and somebody just playing jokes on people and the town. Um, you also have the themes of ambition and greed because Katrina Van Tassel comes from a rich family. You do have Ichabod Crane, although he is in love with her. I think he's also looking more towards the money aspect of it. Although the Headless Horseman could be named as a character in this story, I thought of it more of the main focus point. So that's why I gave it its own slide. Um, the Headless Horseman is basically a soldier who lost his head during the American Revolution. Uh, he rides at night searching for his lost head, kind of scaring the people in the countryside. As mentioned earlier, Ichabod is extremely scared of this Headless Horseman. Um, Basically, this ghost story forms the backbone of Washington Irving's famous tale. According to the folklore, the small Erie village of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman is believed to be the ghost of a Haitian soldier in the American Revolutionary War. Ichabod encounters this figure while riding home from a party at night, extremely scared. The horseman is chasing Ichabod Crane, ultimately throwing out what appears to be his head, which is kind of like a jack o' lantern pumpkin of a head. I think the Headless Horseman's legend symbolizes the fears and superstition that is unresolved trauma from war that still lingers in the post-Revolutionary War setting of Sleepy Hollow. Whether it's real or not or imagined, the Horseman remains the powerful figure of dread and mystery of the story. Now, when it comes to the Sleepy Hollow's cultural impact, I do know there's been a couple movies made from this tale. One of my favorites happens to be the Disney version of it, the cartoon. That's always been one of my favorites since I was a kid. There's also another one that has Johnny Depp in it. Also, watch that one. It's a great movie. Um, with regards to cultural, it looks like we also kind of seem to bring it upon ourselves during Halloween traditions, talk about ghost stories, kind of keep reliving that with kids, the tale of the Headless Horseman. Um, it also has a large influence on Gothic literature and horror stories, which keeps it going on for years and years. Obviously, this was written back in 1820, and we're still talking about it, writing about it, watching movies about it. So I think it's a great tale to keep moving forward. I think this story has a great blend of humor and Gothic element to it. It's pretty funny how you have two guys kind of going after the same girl. Uh, One of them's a school teacher, educated, wants to marry Karina Van Tassel, and you have the arch nemesis Brom trying to play pranks on Ichabod Crane to just to get under his skin. It's also when you read the story, you can kind of picture all the vivid descriptions. You can kind of see the trees and the setting that he tries to put into his stories. When you kind of watch the movies and the cartoon version of it, you kind of see the same background of what you're reading. It's pretty amazing. The small town feel of American people. It was great to watch and read. I think the story continues to resonate with people years over years is because A, it's a great story. B, we've connected it to cultural on Halloween, which happens every year. So we will continue from now to future. I'm sure this story will be continuing going on and on, connected with Halloween, the jack o' lantern head, scary, spooky vibes. I think that's what makes the story so wonderful and will continue to do so. I think Washington Irving's Legend of Sleepy Hollow is also a masterful blend of humor, folklore, gothic elements that continues to captivate the reader today. Even though the character of Ichabod Crane and the legend of the Headless Horseman, Irving still explores the themes of superstition, ambition, and community. The story structure, with its use of symbolism, humor, and vivid imagery, it helps create the energy and the engaging narrative that balances suspense and satire. I think ultimately The Legend of Sleepy Hollow remains unquestionable as an amazing story, example of early American Gothic literature. It reflects the culture, anxieties, and fears of its time while offering timeless commentary on human nature. So, thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I appreciate it.